Each political party and leader has outlined an economic policy of tax cuts, tax increases, deficit spending, downsizing, and a multi-year program for economic growth. As a member of your respective party caucus, what are your views on Alberta's economic framework and fiscal programs to achieve economic growth? What are your priorities?
Sustainable economic revenue that comes into the province and into the province is an absolute must. Right now, Little Norway, 5.3 million people, has in their version of the Heritage Savings Trust Fund over $1 trillion. What do we have in Alberta with 3.5 million people? 17 billion. One government knows how to plan, how to save, and knows that one day energy revenues will go out. We know that energy goes up and goes down. Nothing can be done in this province until there is a fair taxation system that includes corporations paying their fair share. Not more than they should, but as much as they should. We need to keep the jobs in Alberta. You know, we're pumping out our oil, albeit for a much lower price. We're not, our refining capacity is frankly going down, not up. We're not keeping the jobs here. We're not involving a homegrown petrochemical industry in this province that would give good paying full-time jobs. Keep the jobs here. Have a decent oil royalty. I remember a Conservative premier who tried to do that. His name was Ed Stelmach. He brought in an increase in oil royalties. His party stabbed him in the back 100 times or more. That's anathema to the Conservative Party. Frankly, it's wrong-headed. When Sarah Palin comes here, that well-known socialist, and says, you guys are nuts, you're not getting enough oil royalties revenue. She's right. And so we need to understand that oil royalties are a part of the picture, not the whole picture. How do we get sustainable revenue? Proper taxation, growing jobs here. Rachel Notley and the Democrats have proposed a tax credit to companies that actually establish full-time paying jobs in Alberta. And then you will be rewarded with a tax credit. That's the kind of tax credit that matters. When you produce jobs, you should get a little bit of a benefit. You should not be allowed, as is currently the situation, for corporations to get away, frankly, with bloody murder, as one Tory voter told me at the door, an oil company guy who said, why aren't we getting more? I said, good question, sir. Why aren't we getting more? The time has come, Alberta, to find out that we can grow up and have the same resource revenue other provinces have through proper taxation.
Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, and I will just like to quickly address Mark's point in regards to comparing to Norway. I think it's a wonderful point to compare to. You have a country that has $175 billion sitting in their fund, and also a 75% tax rate. Very important to understand, it's a very different structure. Also folks, we sit here in this province, and we're a very big piece of, and as the economic engine of this country. In the last 20 years, we have contributed in transfer payments over, I'm pretty sure it's over $100 billion gone to Ottawa. That money goes to all of the people in the provinces that are not in the same economic situation we are. We're proud contributors to Confederation, and we will continue to do that as strong Albertans. Don't forget that. If we didn't do that, we would be sitting with probably $115, $120 billion fund in our Heritage Fund right now. So I think it's really important to understand that, okay? Now, carrying forward on the economic framework, we have some great opportunities where we sit today. We have a strong forestry industry, we have a strong agricultural industry, our IT industry, our biotech industries do a great job for us on top of a fantastic oil and natural gas energy sector. We will continue to see those grow. I think what I'd like to see happen is I want to see the diversification happening as well. What we get to create a very strong industry in the oil sector specifically is we actually created a royalty holiday to allow the people to recover their capital investment up in the oil sands. We created in the late 90s $130 billion worth of investment lined up to be invested in this province. That's part of why we are the strength we are today. That's why we have these fantastic jobs and people being able to enjoy the wonderful economy. That's why you see all the new houses being built all across this constituency, and you're going along and you're seeing older homes coming down and newer homes going up because people are being able to reinvest and make some fantastic things happen because of the strength of this economy. All right? We want to see that happen some more. We've had the opportunity with other industries.
I'm not sure how many people realize that we have what's called a structural fiscal problem in this province. We continue to spend everything that comes into the province. We have saved nothing in 30 years, when Peter Lougheed left the Heritage Fund with $15 billion. It's worth half that now. Unfortunately, it's not only a question of not saving, it's also a question of not bringing in sufficient revenue, either from royalties or from a fair tax system, that would allow us to save and would allow us to have a buffer when oil prices go down. So 1/4 of the provincial budget, 25% roughly, is fluctuating every year based on oil prices. We can't guarantee that we're going to have teachers this year because if the price goes down, we have to fire teachers or nurses or social workers. If the price goes up, then we will rehire. And if they haven't left the province, we will rehire teachers, social workers, or health workers. That's the problem this year. So a structural deficit, a structural problem in our system has to be initially addressed to get off the oil revenue. That oil revenue is non-renewable. It's not going to be there anymore. Once it's sold, once it's burned, we have no value to it. And the analogy to Norway is at least appropriate in the sense that they're living off the interest of their non-renewable resource. We have spent it all. We've spent it all in a generation. Until we get off that and have a stable base of revenue through a fair tax system and royalties that are fair, then we will continue to go up and down like a yo-yo with the price of oil. That means schools, hospitals, care for seniors, care for people in difficulty with finances, single moms are never going to get a fair shake in this province. This is a mean-spirited government that has left many thousands of people, increasing numbers behind. Alberta is the #1 province of inequality.
Thank you. This province has prospered on the value of oil and gas.
Stand up, please.
Sorry. As I was starting to say, this province has prospered on the value of oil and gas and the revenues generated accordingly. But as we've all seen, the oil and gas revenue is not stable. It fluctuates with both things that we can control and as well as the things that we cannot control. What we need to do is get off the roller coaster of oil and gas revenue dependencies. The second thing that we also need to do is to be able to restore money back in the hands of yourselves, not through increasing taxes on yourself, but rather putting the money back where you can stimulate the economy through the things that you want to do, the things that you want to spend. We've talked about through the NDP party a 20% increase on the corporate income tax. The income tax part of the equation, well, all that will simply do is to drive jobs out of Alberta here. We've seen an increase in corporate income tax in BC, and we've seen the effects of that accordingly. They also talked about using a tax credit for jobs created, and what we've heard is in the Chamber of Commerce today is saying that the effects of that tried in the federal government did not work. Having a tax credit for creation of jobs did not work for them. It had a minimal effect. The Wild Rose prefers to, again, put the taxes back in your hands so that you have a choice to spend it. We also want to be able to see a balanced budget sooner than most everybody can. We also want to be able to put money back in the Heritage Trust Fund and have that money there for yourself and for the future generations. The Wild Rose Party does not believe that we will burden the economy on the backs of people, but rather we will find the savings through effectiveness, efficiencies, and gains in our economy.
The third question. Each political party and leader has outlined their policies as to government bureaucracy, Alberta Health Services, education, and senior programs. What are your views as a potential MLA for Calgary-Mountain? Mark?
First of all, on the question of a $1 billion cut to health care, cut to health care, that's not on for the New Democrats. We are not going to cut health care in this province by $1 billion and then say and pretend, well, we're just cutting bureaucracy. We're going to make it much more efficient. That's completely a wrong-headed approach. We cannot use that approach. Seniors require health care. I'm starting to get very close to that perilous number. I will require health care. Many in this room will. If waiting times cannot be reduced under the current system, then that says that the delivery point is the issue, not an alleged bureaucracy problem. So, we are going to, in fact, spend more money on healthcare, but in a careful and planned way, so that we are saying healthcare practitioners, licensed practical nurses, registered nurses are part of the picture. Delivering healthcare at home is part of the picture, where, by the way, studies show patients do much better if they can be treated at home. They feel that they're still part of their community, their home, they feel secure. We'll put money into that. Bureaucracy is a big word, and is there waste? Probably there is somewhere, someplace. I can tell you in the post-secondary system, there is no waste. I am held to a budget of 1.2% in terms of a variance, positive or negative, and if I go over that, I get called up on the carpet. The government gets to run a deficit. Oh, wait a minute, they actually had legislation that was supposed to prevent that, but I guess that got ignored too. So, if we are talking about bureaucracy, let's not be deluded to think that all of the savings are going to be funded by taking pencil pushers out. There just aren't that many pencil pushers left, except in the area of public relations and communications. Remember, I'm the dean of that area, and we've had too many of those people hired at the expense of practitioners, doctors, nurses, and all of those in chronic care. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So we have bureaucracy that we need to make sure is going to stay strong. In our public sector, we have the best doctors, teachers, nurses out there. They do a fantastic job. Our professors do a great job for us at our post-secondary institutions as well. And we make sure that they're doing that. They're the best paid people out there, and we want to keep that confidence in there as the government. They're the best paid in Canada. We want to make sure that they stay confident, and we're going to see no frontline workers cut in healthcare, and we're not going to see any loss in our classrooms. We're keeping all the classrooms whole. There is 1.5% coming out of the administration in education. In healthcare, what we're looking at is cutting $150 million out of the administration in healthcare. We all pay as taxpayers are paying more than any other province per capita to make our healthcare system work, and some people say we aren't getting the value we want. Part of it's because of our growth, because of the numbers that are coming into this province. We need to have more doctors and nurses. I would like to see that $150 million moved into the frontline workers and expand our nurses, our doctors, and our technologists and other healthcare workers as we're going forward. So I think we can do that. It's moving that money to the frontline workers and out of the administration. That's a big piece of what we need to see happen. We're going to see that happen and go forward. I think we'll see it in other areas as well. We've already moved forward in bringing down some of the administrations and making sure that that's not going to happen inside the other government departments and keeping in control on that. We are also being very wise as we're going forward with this and making sure we're getting the spending under control. We're taking 3 years to get the spending under control instead of doing it in one. We tried to do it in one, that would force us into a recession. We don't want to see that happening in the province. So what we're doing is taking some of this year, a little bit the next year, and some the next year, and making sure we're taking time and doing it very thoughtfully on how we get the spending under control. Thank you very much.